So today, quality. Quality today. My name is Michael Waker. Or Mike Waker, please. I'm only Michael if I'm in trouble. I am a customer account manager here at Tracware, and just walking you through some of the basic operations that quality can provide for you within the system today. Just the general stuff to get through before anything. This webinar is being recorded, obviously for training purposes, because we're going to then put it up on our YouTube channel, which we will hopefully leave a link to. You can find it if you just type Tracware into YouTube, you'll find it. But then in the other general stuff, you can please mute your microphone, turn off your video feed, just because obviously some people's bandwidth isn't the best, including ours probably. And please use the chat function as well if you want to ask any questions. Like I said, Warwick is in here today. He will kind of be monitoring the chat and answering any questions that we can. If there are any questions we can't answer today, leave them with us. We will come back to you and let you know what they are or what the answers are. Okay. So the aim of today is to get a basic overview of how quality is managed through Aerotrac. If you're wondering why I'm doing this, it's because I'm on two screens and the presentation is on that one. Okay. So the objectives really of what is entitled or entailed in this is the understanding of the aspects of the quality setup, which is a fundamental part of the quality section and pretty much a fundamental part of most Aerotrac functions. Supplier setup and auditing, engineer license control and engineer logbooks, capability management, the publication review, and most importantly, tooling. I say most importantly, probably some of the other stuff might be more important, but I used to do material, so tooling I actually know some stuff about. Right, on to the actual demo itself. So if I just flick over to Tracware, Aerotrac, so I get it the right way around. Right, so I said we will start with the quality setup, which is probably the best place to go. That can be found in the administrator module of Aerotrac, which obviously you can access by clicking that button up there. I say quality setup, there's a quality one down here. Whenever we talk about setup, the majority of it is all in the actual administrative setup drop down, and it's just below there, okay? So you can tell here, there's your drop down. So as a quick rule of thumb, you've got, depending on your specific modules, you've also got the ability to do change control. So if you want people to check, or if people are changing stuff within Aerotrac, you can set it up in there where they have to actually specify what it is that they changed and why and who it is, as well as other kind of change control methods. Defect codes are another one. They're really useful for reports and performance reviews when it comes to anything sort of MRO based. So a lot of it is workshop stuff. We're actually doing a project at the moment with a customer where they're using defect codes in a report to actually monitor the performance of their tests. So they would have a defect code for what it is that's going wrong, and then they would basically look at first pass yield. So the first time they do a test, how many of them pass and how many of them don't, and they're doing that via defect codes, which is quite cool at the moment. But we'll go into the quality setup, and you're going to be a bit mind blown by the amount of tabs there is. As you can see, it can't all fit on one page. So within the quality setup, there's a wide array of options you can look at, starting with aircraft maintenance types, which is this one here. This is where you can set up your own maintenance under the relative authority and also list specific statements that will then pre-populate on different forms and certs, ranging from CRSs and task cards all the way through to hangar project work packs. Okay, so you can see here, here's the list of all the maintenance type and the actual approval. Obviously you've got them as live at the moment. This is in our demo data, but underneath here you can also see there's task card statements. This will then appear on every single task card as a default. Same with the CRS statement and logbook certs as well. Okay, so all of that is going to appear in there. So if you have any pre-populated info you always want on them, you would automatically log it in there. Okay, you can also do pre-populated statements within the certification tab and also within the approval types here. So with the certification tabs, basically they can be set up for each different cert that you've got. So obviously here you've got what your approval label is, depending on which one whoever it is, whether it's EASA, FAA, ISO. And then you can put in quality statements, part certificates as well. There's another one here where you can put in the report footer and process packs, again, compliance statements. A lot of the setup is just as it is on the tin. It's general setup stuff, but important to do, so it saves you a hell of a load of time when you're typing stuff out at the end of it. If you guys are or if you are using a system that's quite, I don't want to say machine-like, but very just rapid on the way through, and you don't really have to write that much in the way of notes. It's similar to the way you use the project library. You can just pre-populate stuff and then just edit it as you need to, if anything kind of an anomaly comes up, for a lack of a better phrase. Okay. You can also preview these to see how they look and tailor it to meet your requirements, which is the same as you can do with like most things, really. As this is our demo data, we already have the quality management module turned on, which shows you like the breadth of options you're able to explore. Some of you may not have all of these in yours because the quality management module is not turned on. Okay. It offers a wider range or wide array of different options and kind of takes it to the next level. And we will go through some of these additional features as we progress through the webinar. Okay. Some of these mainly include part conditions, supplier scopes, auditing criteria, but one of the main benefits of the module is actually being able to set up license types and approvals for individual engineers, which are here. Like I said, we'll probably come on to this later in the webinar, but it's important to note that this feature is crucial to electronic sign-off and is going to be an integral part of future versions of Aerotrac, specifically kind of AWI, if any of you are kind of aware of that. If you want to find out more about AWI, again, just let us know at the end of this. Get in touch with your CAM or just get in touch with the support team and we will walk you through what it is. Okay, but it's exciting steps for us as a company. I'm going to quickly nip out of the quality setup bit now. I mean, we can have another look at, I'll run you through a couple of other bits here. So you've got stuff like audits, we'll get onto a second, but conditions. So obviously when you've got the stock types within Aerotrac, which we covered in the materials webinar, but within that you can also have conditions where you can have them as serviceable. But what is it? Serviceable inspected? Is it serviceable new? Is it serviceable? It can't be new, but serviceable repaired. Is it or is it calibrated? Is it been inspected and tested? All of those can be set up in here. Everyone's favorite one usually is as removed. So the minute you take it off of an aircraft, you can change it to condition like probably quarantine or unserviceable, and then put it as removed. Yeah. Eligibilities as well. That's just what it says on the tin. Fault codes is another good one when you're looking at potential for reports and whatnot. Again, we'll get onto these in a second because these are the license types, but release types, we'll go into those maybe in later detail later. I've got a lot to get through, so I'm going to try and make this as sort of detailed as I possibly can within the time limit. But there's loads basically that you can look at in here. What we will do then is we're going to quickly look at the supplier details within Aerotrac. So if I go into contacts and personnel and click on supplier details, and then let's pick GE, why not? Within the admin module, you can also set up suppliers. Here you can control order types, limit the range of orders procurement can raise against the specific supplier, and setting up scopes for the supplier, indicating what they what they provide and what specifics of what it is that they do. So if you go to, they got the basics here, you've got contact details, trading details. These are the kind of important ones here. We've got default and audit details, supplier scopes, which we haven't set up for one in here, but you've also got release types and approvals. A big feature that comes with the quality management module is the ability to do detailed supplier audits and the ability to limit the accessible functionality depending on their results of the audit. For example, you can prevent, so if I nip, sorry, into the default audits bit. So for example, you can prevent purchase orders being raised against a supplier if they've failed or are awaiting an overdue audit, thus limiting any potential pain later on down the line where you've raised a PO and they turn out they can't pass the audit, but you've already bought stuff in from them. Just avoids that. Here you can also record audits, specify what release types they offer and the expiry dates of their worthiness approvals. So you can see here it's got a supplier audit date acquired. We've set up an audit type here. That's a 2-year one. You can also see here with the scope details, these are the orders that you are allowed to raise against a certain supplier. So if you know for a fact that they don't do services, then you can make it, you can stop the procurement team from being able to raise a PO against that supplier because they wouldn't be able to do it, so it's automatically the wrong one. Then you've obviously got the other stuff like shipping and this, that, and the other, which you can automatically set up against them. And then the release types and approvals, like I said, these are all the release types that they are able to provide. And then these are basically selections then that you can pick from when you are using that supplier. Yeah. Going back into the audits then, because this is a kind of additional feature that we've got of that quality management module. You can see here now, it's not in the administrative setups bit, it's actually in the quality bit here. So you can actually set up your own audit templates, but you can set up as per each different supplier, depending on what it is that they've done. So we've created a base one here it's got its own audit reference. Here's the auditee, and we've done this one as just an original equipment manufacturer on a 2-year audit. So you can set up your own audit templates and then record audit results within the administrator module. This includes actually creating your own questionnaires, intervals, and relevant ratings to judge conformance. So, I mean, like I said, these are sort of some of the descriptions that you can do. There's the general header, and then again, another header and footer when it comes to the end of the template. So if I were to preview the list here, hopefully it will come up. There you go. So if you had your questions in here, they would be in there, and then obviously you can pop the answers in as you go through. But if we were to go back to the audit results, and then if I was to click the audit one here, here's your audit results. You can tell it's got audit pending here because it's color coded. And then you've also got here your list for conformance as well. So we've put commentary, all good. So obviously they've got nothing to worry about. But that's where you can have your questionnaire here as well. So if I click preview questionnaire, there you go. So what I was saying about earlier on the audit template, that's what the questionnaire will look like. But this is kind of like the actual formal form, if you like. There's also the ability to conduct both external and internal audits, and there's also an audit status screen that provides an overview of the status of all your suppliers. If you click on the audit status screen here, there you go. You can tell here there's been some that we haven't set up for some of our suppliers. We've got blue ones here that are in progress. So GE Materials is actually in progress at the moment, and then you've got a few more, and then you've actually got red, which is due. So you can tell on that one that basically there would be an issue then trying to raise POs or any subsequent work against that supplier because their audit is due. So Aerotrac is quite good in the sense of you can have kind of full control really. If followed properly, you can have full control from a quality aspect, especially from a supplier point of view, because you can really limit it to make sure that everyone is kind of above board and it is you're not going to get in any trouble basically for using them, for lack of a better phrase. One of the other key features of the quality management module is engineer license control. I touched on it earlier. This is something really that relates to AWI, which is it's just kind of a prelude version to what's going to happen with Aerotrac going forward in its later versions. So what do I mean by license control? I'll show you now. So if we go to contacts and personnel and then go to employee details, what I'll do is we'll look at Bernard because A, he's got a great name, and B, I think he's got everything set up for him, which would be great. So Bernard is an example of the license details here. So here you can add details of an individual engineer's license and the specific ratings and categories on whatever aircraft it is they're working on. So you can see here, for example, Bernard has an EASA LAE license. He has a license number. He's got his issue date and his renewal date. He shouldn't really be working on any because this is back from 2013. But you can tell here, here's the rating. So he's got a B1 and a B2 and a C14 on different specific bits here. So he's got a C14 on landing gear, and then he's obviously got B2 on avionics, and that one I think is on general power and mechanics. So he's got all those details here. So we've got a load of the details, but how do you actually apply them on a practical point of view from Aerotrac? That comes with license applicability. So you can use this license applicability function to apply their license to the relevant product groups. In this case, he's got this license, but it's only applicable for a helicopter Bell 412 EP. Yeah. So the idea really is that when he does that, That's what controls the electronic sign-off in the later web versions of Aerotrac. So the idea would be if you're trying to drag and drop him on a capacity planner, or you want him to get to sign off a task, he won't be able to do it on any other aircraft other than a Bell 412 EP. He just won't be able to do it because he's not put against that product group of the relevant one. So you can have multiple product groups set up if he's got the license that spans over a number of aircraft. Yeah. So this is essentially our version of the control. It won't allow an engineer who is not licensed for a specific task on an aircraft to sign it off, and that ensures that best practice is followed. Yeah. This also ties in nicely with the next feature I wanted to show, which is the engineer's logbook. Okay. And the engineer's logbook is back in quality down here. So if I click on that, and then let's go back to Bernard again. Voila. So up here with Bernard, it's got his department number, it's got his stamp number. It's also got dates that you can put through here. The idea of the engineer logbook is that it tracks and records all the transactions of an engineer through the system. Every time an engineer logs work or signs off on to a task for a project, it'll be logged here automatically. The logbook can be filtered for specific dates. So if you wanted to obviously just look at, okay, what has he been working on, or the engineer wants to look and go, okay, what have I been working on in the last year? You can just filter it by those tasks there. And it can also be exported or printed as required. So you can get your usual one. This is probably going to be really long, isn't it? Oh, it's not. Cool. All right, excellent. Get to work, Bernard. But he's put all those in here. So that said, you can filter those down, and obviously that said, export it also into a normal CSV file or an Excel file like you would anything else. This is really a very good tool, I think, for engineers when it comes to recency, to obviously prove what it is that they've been working on and that they've recently been working on a specific task or a specific aircraft type, and that obviously helps with the recency for licenses and whatnot. So it's a really, really useful tool for engineers, put it that way, because it's all automatically logged, so it's less work than what it previously would have been having to trail through loads of old paper files. The capability management function. Ooh, right, okay. So if we click onto the capability management here, which is again under quality, I mean, this is all in the admin. I haven't even gotten to the main application yet. So the capability management function is another feature included in the quality management module. Capability management offers greater control over the company's capability list and extensions. So, i.e., can you just inspect and test on a part, or can you manufacture? Can you maintain and repair? I'll give you a good example here. I'm not just pulling this out of thin air. I made Blue Petering. This is what I made earlier. So we've got here a panel assembly. You can see here that in the capability management, it's got pretty much a list of everything in it, but the main one is this bit here. So you've got scope and application, and you've got limitations. This is what I mean. So on this part, for example, we've actually said we can inspect and test, we can do maintenance, we can modify, we can overhaul, and we can repair. Okay. If we weren't able to do any of those things, you could click off of those. So if we weren't be able to modify it, we would take it off of modify or overhaul. And basically, Aerotrac would then not allow us to do any work of that variety on that part. So we wouldn't be able to do a modification project. We wouldn't be able to internally overhaul it. It would automatically then need to be subcontracted out to go and get done. Okay, it's a good way of limiting basically what it is that you can do within the system and what you can't, and setting clear parameters for that. Okay, it provides the ability to add costing as well and training details. It can display the route for a specific part and preview / print capability information. It also can capture tooling requirements and subsequent product groups, as well as release types and publications. All of that is in here. So you can see here, here's a pub that relates to that. It's automatically raised in there. There's the tooling. There's no tools required for it, but there's your route. There's your BOM. It's got basically everything in it from a capability point of view on each different part. Okay. Speaking of publications, if we head back into the main Aerotrac application, here we go. Now we're back into the main bad boy. If you go into the main publication here, you can see that there's a publication review, which is down here. So if I click on that, and then what we'll do is it's all done obviously by OEMs or by manufacturers because they're the ones that produce the publications. So here you can review the status of publications relating to a specific manufacturer. Like I said, I'm going to go with Bell on this one. And as you can see, there's a color-coded key down the bit here that reflects the current status of the pubs. This includes held issues, issue dates, and access to like linked documentation. Yeah, so all of that is in here. There's also a shortcut to the transmittals for the publications, providing a step-by-step check to ensure that the publication has been correctly distributed without the business. So if I were just to click on here, there you go. And you can see here, it's got all your checks within there. It's got the pub, and there's your actual receipt type to, as a confirmation that it's been sent out throughout. So you can email recipients as well. So that's essentially how you transmit that throughout your business. Yeah. So I hope that makes sense. You can see here, like I said, you got your link documents down there. I don't know if we have actually linked anything to it. We haven't. But essentially very similar to the way you currently do it if you were to do it. Going forward with AWI, that'll probably be done in the document manager. But again, that's a discussion for another day. Another feature that is included in the quality module, and I touched on it earlier, is tooling. Tooling types and locations can all be set up back in the administrator. So I'll quickly whiz back in here, and it's in the admin setup bit. So if I go back to quality and go quality setup, here we go. So there you go. So you got your tooling types and whatnot. Again, this is more of a reporting function than anything else. You could actually just have one that says tools and that's it, or tool and GSE, and that would be it. But some people like to get into a little bit more detail, so you can have it as GSE, you can have it as roll equipment, torque wrenches, boroscopes, whatever you want. Yeah, if you wanted to do that. All that's creating the quality setup, and the locations are set up within the material setup here, where you essentially set up tooling locations. So if I was to go here, there you go. We haven't created any in here for that warehouse, but you can set up tooling locations here. So it might just be tool store, and that would be it. Yeah. But going back then to the actual tooling itself, the actual tooling itself is dealt with here in the actual Aerotrac within the quality module. Okay. And that's basically the actual maintenance, calibration, and distribution of tools is all done through here. So if let's go for, again, here's what I made earlier. If I go for, what was it, QD 1R50, we'll go for that bad boy here. This is a good example of a stock maintenance plan. So it's important to remember that with tooling, it doesn't work like a normal stock item, okay? It's its own part number in itself, but they are stocked by part number. So what I mean by that is we have one part number, which is QDR 150. That's the part number of the part itself, okay? But what you can do is you have one part number, but multiple items that are stocked underneath that particular part number, but they're not in stock, if you know what I mean. They don't, if you went to the stock inquiry and then typed in the tooling part number, you wouldn't be able to find it because it's not a part that you would put on the aircraft. It's a tool. Yeah. This tool stock can be differentiated by serial number, an asset number, or a tool reg number. So you can see here, here's the tooling register, here's your part number. You can see here it says tools stocked, right? So if I then go to tool stock, voila, there are two of them. And as I just said there a minute ago, they've each got their own different tool reg number and their own serial number. So both of these are actually stocked in the tooling register, but just under the one part number, because obviously you can have multiple quantity of the same torque wrench. But the idea then is that you can have an individual maintenance plan and an individual usage history for each item that is in stock. Yeah. These could also be set with their own individual maintenance plan in alignment with calibration maintenance dates. So the system warns you of the renewal date with a predefined period of time. These transactions are then kept in the maintenance log and maintenance status screen. So we haven't got much of the usage on that, but you can see here's a maintenance history, which is basically saying here's the recalibration, there's some planned maintenance, and this is when it's gone out for calibration, right? What I'll do then is if I quickly switch over to another part that has been used on one before, again, You got a number of pieces, tools stocked. Here's your tool stock. You can see here, this exclamation mark would say these need to be calibrated because they've been set up within a year and neither of them have been actually done. So if I went to the maintenance log here, you can see here's the calibration history. That's the last time it was made. And there is the current maintenance status, which basically means you haven't done any of this. The maintenance plan itself is where you can set up all the additional ones. Sorry, where you can set up individual ones, and you can set these up, and then basically what you do is you assign each one to a different tool. Most 9 times out of 10, it will be a calibration on an annual. So what you do is you set up as a description of calibration. You do it every 365 or every 364 days if you want it to be absolutely bang on the same day every year. You can then obviously have who it's serviced by and what the what the cost is, and then that will automatically populate when you raise a non-stock order for them to go out for calibration. Okay. The important one I wanted to show here is the usage history. So if I was to click on that, there you go. You can query the usage for each different one. You can see here that's what it was booked out to. But then if I go to the other one and query the usage there you go. So on this one here, it's got what was the project, what was the op number that it was brought on to, and then here that's the maintenance they went out on. So that was the last time that we put it out for maintenance one. We just haven't GRN'd it back in yet on the demo data, but you can tell that it's obviously outstanding because it was actually sent out on the 27th of Jan 2023. We just haven't brought it back in yet for obvious reasons, all planned, clearly. So all of that is in there. Tooling can be booked out to jobs via the tooling register. So if I was to get back up to the tool stock here, it probably won't let me do it. Oh no, it will now, but it shouldn't. Well, it can. The idea really is that you would only do it when it's actually been calibrated. But the idea is that you book it out, you put it to a HP or a WP or a project, and then the op number. You can also then assign it to the engineer that took it out, and then that gives you the traceability then of where it's gone. So if you were having it when there was an audit and they're saying, can you prove where this tool was used or where is it now? As long as it's all been logged in there, you should be able to find it. So the tooling register is really handy in that respect. Just some other bits within the general quality function then are, well, like I said, we've got stuff turned on here. So we've got stuff like change control and whatnot in here. All your certificates and certs can be pulled out of the quality bit within the main module. So you've got part certificates, release, CRSs, and then logbook certs. All of those can be done from here. So if I was to go for a general release cert, you can add a new one. Let's just go for a random project. You can tell them what it would do. I've already done one for it. But it automatically pre-populates with all the information from each different the project. It will just pre-populate all that information in there. As I said earlier, in the quality setup, what will happen is that you can set up each different cert. So you can, I'll show you quickly now to go back there because I probably glimpsed over it earlier. But if you go back to the quality setup, and then you head into release types. So like I said here, these are all the release types that we've got set up within the system. And you can tell here that there are general statements that you can put in the left-hand box and in the right-hand one. So that way they already pre-populate when you're pulling up your release certs, all that information will automatically be in there already. Yeah. So that makes life inherently easier. And that happens with all of them. So that's parts, release to service, logbook certs. All of them can be automatically generated from Aerotrac with the pre-populated information from different projects. Change control is what it says on the tin. There's discrepancy reports. So we go part fail dimensional checks. If I check that one, there's the part bomb and material. There's drawing tools, publications. You can whiz through all of it. Like I said, we've done a little bit here, but here's the distribution. So if you wanted to then send it out and say, here's the report, you can literally click on that, send it out, and yeah. So it's quite straightforward. Receipt inspection is obviously when parts are coming back in. So if I was to click on one of these are mainly obviously from repair orders. So when something comes back in or you've done some work on it and you need to receipt respect it back in, it keeps all the details here within this receipt inspection. And this is the part that you do either before, if it's a general repair order, before it goes back onto the aircraft, or if it is a a general receipt inspection, then it's just obviously before you bring them back into stock. Yeah, all the inspections are done here. Okay, and it keeps a track of them all. That can be done via the GRN as well, but there's a shortcut to it there. Shelf life stock is what it says on the tin. It kind of relates to the status board back here, where you've got shelf life parts expiring. If you go to shelf life stock, you can literally just bring up all the parts here that are going to expire from their shelf life, or the ones that you have actually got set up. So if you ever wanted to just look at a general run through all your shelf life stock, it's in here. And then, like I said, you can preview that with the report. You can do Control E or just do the preview report down there. Yeah. We've gone through the tooling, and then you've obviously just got work order inspections. Again, this is, has it actually got anything in it? There you go. So this is all primarily for manufactured parts. If you're doing manufacturing, and the quantity to make, this is where you basically do the re-inspection to say, yeah, all these are fine, and then that becomes part of the cost finished goods and work order finished goods routines that you do at the L, where then it takes you straight onto the release certificate, and you can print it all off from there. Okay, that is primarily it as a very kind of quick run through of the quality management module. Like I said, I don't want to say we've gone through at lightning pace, but if we sat there and went into detail on it, we could be here for probably for hours. As I said at the start, if you do have any questions, now is the time to sort of ask. And if not, just leave them obviously with our support team. And we will get back to you on it, because I appreciate not everyone is watching this live at the exact time that it's going out. So if you do, support at tracware.com, ask the questions. We will obviously, or go to your PPC and ask them if they can raise it as a support ticket for us, and we will go and we will crack on with it, really. Last thing I was going to sort of say then to finish off, back to the demo screen, is thank you for attending. Thank you for your time. As always, much appreciated. And yeah, if you want to drop any feedback, scan the QR code on the screen. I didn't do this last time, and I didn't get great ratings because I forgot to tell everybody. So if you do feel like doing it, please scan the QR code, send us some feedback. Let us know what you're making of the webinars, if this was useful at all, if there's anything specific that you would like included, just let us know. We're all up for feedback. And yeah, thank you very much for your time. And yeah, we will see you again next week. I believe it's MRO next week. So exciting. See you all then. Take care. Cheers. Bye bye.